All right, welcome back. In this training, we're going to talk about how to effectively ask for referrals that actually work, that they want to give you a referral, and then what to say when you call or meet with that referral. Now, the good news is, if you're following NEPQ, if you cold call, eventually, because of how I show you to do referrals, you're going to do less and less of that. If you do outbound leads or inbound leads, we're going to also show you how to get referrals. That just boosts your income. You just get more easier sales that way, okay? So let's start here with how to ask for referrals. There's a right way to do that, and then there's a wrong way to do that, okay? So we're going to give you the framework. Here's how to start that conversation. Now, depending on what you sell would be dependent on when you ask for the referral. Let me give you an example. If you sell like a one-call close, you make the sale, you throw it over your back, you're going to ask for the referrals right then and there at their home, at their office, virtually on the phone, okay? If you sell more of a B2B complex type of sale, like a $10 million solution, you're probably not going to ask for referrals right when they buy. You might come back a month later after it's implemented. They're getting a result to come back and get the referrals. It depends on the industry you're in. I'm going to let you make that judgment yourself, okay? So here's how that might work once you're to that point. Mary, I appreciate the opportunity we've had to be able to work with you and help you guys. Can I ask you, like in your mind, how do you feel we've been able to help you the most? Well, we like this, and you've done a really good job, blah, 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 blah. Now, why would I ask that? Because they're going to tell themselves how you've helped them, how they feel you've helped them. And when they tell you how they feel you've helped them, they what? They own that. Then you're going to ask, so with that in mind, who do you know that might be struggling with? And then you're going to plug in the problem you solve for them. Now, with that in mind, who do you know that might be struggling with? And you plug in the problem that you solve for them, okay? Now, an example might look like this. Let's say that you sell merchant processing. With that in mind, who do you know that might be struggling with overpaying for processing fees? See how I just plugged that in? Let me do that again. With that in mind, who do you know that might be struggling with overpaying processing fees? See how I just plugged that in? Now, once they've suggested a friend or business associate, you're going to ask for more information because you've got to get them more committed than that. Okay, now pay attention to my tone. Well, I've got, Jim was, I got a friend Jim and blah, 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 or I'm thinking about Cindy. Can you tell me a little bit more about her and why you feel like we could help them? Can you tell me a little bit more about Jim and why you feel like we could help him? Now, why would you want to ask them that? Because it goes back to finding more about the person before you call. But we also want the person referring them to what? To own that. That way they're more than likely to contact that person and build you up before you make that call. See what I'm doing there? Then you're going to say, well, how do you feel it'd be best to approach them? Well, I think you should email them. Let me give you his email address. Then they give you the email. You're just going to email them without them contacting? That's not smart. So you then want to ask them this question. Do you feel like you should communicate to him first that I would be calling? Would that help him more so he's not sticker shocked? That's a really good idea. I think I'm going to call him today. Why would you want to ask that question? Because we want that person referring to reach out to them before you try to call or email them. It's far more powerful. It's like I'm sending you somebody that I feel might be able to help you. You're more than likely to get a hold of them and convert that referral if they're willing to do that with you. So then you need to find out what they're going to say to them because they could say something crazy. What do you think you should say to him when you call? Now, why do you want to know what they're going to say to that person? Well, you probably want to know to prevent them from saying anything that could create resistance with that person, anything too technical or inaccurate or weird and salesy. It's like they call like, oh my gosh, you got to meet this guy. It's so awesome and it's only $25,000. That's not going to work. So you offer a suggestion to help communicate the right thing with the right words. So they might say, well, I think I'm going to tell them about this, and I'm going to tell them about this, and how this was so cool, and you did this, and all that stuff. Then you're going to say this. Yeah, that might work. Can I make a suggestion to you, though? Sure, go ahead. What if you talked about some of the challenges that you were having and that he's having right now, and how we were able to solve those challenges for you guys? Would that be more helpful for him? Now, in most cases, they're going to be like, that's a really good idea. I never even thought about that. Then you're going to say this. So besides Amy, is there anyone else you feel that we could help with XYZ? So besides Amy, who else do you feel we can help with XYZ? So besides Amy, who else do you feel like we can help with XYZ? You repeat back the problem you solve for them. Now, what's important for you to notice about the statement is the use of the words, you feel we could help. First, you've made it about them and how they feel. And second, people are far more likely to give you referrals of business associates and friends if they feel you're in it to help them solve problems, all right? You don't want to say, hey, can you give me some referrals? It's at the end of the month, and if I make 2 more sales, I'm going to get a higher commission. They don't care. They only care about you helping people they know. You're going to get far more referrals if you come at it at that point than you are right now. All right, now let's talk about how to call the referrals. Like, what are you going to say when you talk to them, okay? First, we're going to look at what most salespeople would say when calling a referral. This is what most salespeople do. Hey, Mary. Yeah, Mary, hey, it's John Smith with XYZ Company. Amy asked me to give you a call and said that you would be interested in XYZ services. She said that you're wanting to take your business to the next level. Do you have 3 or 4 minutes to talk right now about how my company can get you the results you're looking for? That's if you sold like business consulting services. I just threw something in there. Now notice, who is this focused on? The salesperson, their solution, not the prospect. That was the first mistake. Now from what you've heard, what do you think the second mistake was? Well, it's this. You don't want to assume that just because you got them as a referral, they're just automatically going to be interested. That will kill a lot of referrals. I've seen tons of salespeople fail at this because when they call, they're overly enthusiastic. I don't mean be boring, but they're overly enthusiastic and they start assuming that the referral is just automatically ready to go, which triggers sales resistance. So you want to let that go. Focus on helping them find and solve problems like you did with the person that referred them to you. Remember, the top 1% earning salespeople are what? Problem finders and problem solvers. They're not product pushers. That's what average salespeople are. You don't want to be average, okay? You're not a product pusher anymore. You don't want to be viewed that way. You want to be taken seriously as a trusted authority, the expert. Okay, so back to that role play. Prospect says, yeah, I guess this is a good time. Here's what an average salesperson would do. Okay, great. I know you're going to be really excited about what we have to offer you today. Then they ask a couple of questions. Can you tell me 2 problems you have? And then they go right in their pitch. Okay, so let me go over what we have for you to solve those problems. We've been in business for 8 years, just to give you a background. We've helped over 500 businesses. And let me tell you a few things that we can do to help you get where you're wanting to go, because we have 2 really special promotions that end tonight at midnight. And at the end of the call, and they just keep going on. Ask a couple questions, go into their solution, and then they're just disheartened at the end when the referral doesn't buy, when they thought they were going to be really interested. You don't want to make that mistake. You don't want to trigger sales resistance. Now, another thing you always want to do is you never want to start off the call by saying something like, at the end of the call, you can make I'm going to get you the information you need and you can make an informed decision. What do you think is going on in your prospect's mind? In their mind, they obviously know that you feel the informed decision is to buy what you're selling. You're the salesperson, so it automatically triggers sales resistance. You're biased. You're the salesperson. You don't need to say words like that trigger half of the prospects you're freaking talking to. Now, it might not trigger a laydown sale, but it's just triggering all the other people that are on the fence. You don't want to do that if you want to be a top 1% earner. It just doesn't work that well. So let's take a look at what a top 1% salesperson does who uses NEPQ, okay? You're going to see a drastic difference here. Remember, never assume that just because you've gotten a referral that they're automatically interested. Your first objective is to what? Get them to lower their guard and to disarm them. Find out what problems they have. How can you help them? So here's what you're going to say when calling referrals. Hi, is this Jim? Yeah, Jim, it's just James Miller. A mutual friend of yours, Amy, had asked me to give you a call as I recently helped her with X that was causing them to X and Y and Z. And she had mentioned to me that you might be experiencing some of those same challenges. Is this an appropriate time? Now, let me go through that again with you. I want you to hear my tonality. Pay attention to my body language. I'm going to do it a little bit different. Hi, is this John? Yeah, John, it's Barry Gold. A mutual business associate of yours, Amy, had suggested that I call you as we had recently helped her with XYZ that was causing them to ABC. And she had mentioned to me that you might be experiencing some of those same challenges. Is this an appropriate time? Now, did you hear my tone? Did you see my body language? Even if you're calling, you still want to have the same type of body language because it affects your tone, okay? See, I'm very relaxed. I'm very confident. I'm not like, oh, she said you experience the same challenges. Is this a good time to talk? That's not going to work, okay? You don't want to be down here, but you want to be overexcited. You want to be right in the middle, collective, calm, assertive, relaxed, okay? Now, what do you do if the referral wants to meet you? I've seen that happen. Somebody asks me, well, Jeremy, I meet with the referrals. What do I do then? Okay, here's how to not start that conversation. Not do it. So what do you do if the person referring this person says, hey, why don't we all meet up and have coffee? Let's have breakfast or something. How do you start that conversation? A little bit different than on the phone. Maybe you sit down to say you're having coffee, you're having breakfast, and you start chit-chatting a little bit with all three of you. Here's how you start that conversation. Amy, it's nice meeting you, and let's maybe let's do this. Just so I don't go over things that you've already talked about with Jim. Perhaps you could give me your thoughts on what you guys have discussed and then what you'd like to cover so that we could, possibly focus on you and what you might be looking for. Would that help you? Sure, go ahead. Okay. See, that word might be looking for. I'm not assuming she's looking for anything that just causes them to not have any certainty. Because on the flip side, if it's an A-type personality, especially if I said, and we can talk about what you're looking for, she might say, well, I didn't say I was looking for anything. I don't really know what you guys do yet. And the resistance is up. Now you have to compete against the wall the rest of the conversation. It's so much easier if they just have their guard down the whole time, and you can help control that in that person's mind. You see the difference on how to get referrals the most effective way? All right, now here's what I want you to do. It's very, very important that you take this structure that I just gave you and start practicing it, rehearsing it over and over and over, and then actually start using it to gain massive referrals and to make way more money than you are right now.